In a drought that had stolen everything from Clara's ranch, kindness felt like the most dangerous luxury she couldn't afford, until she found a wounded stranger who would test every lesson her father had ever taught her. Clara stood on the front porch of her small house. The sun beat down hard, and the ground was dry. The fields around her were brown and lifeless. The once thriving crops were now just memories. Clara looked out at the cracked earth. Her heart felt heavy. She felt the weight of her family's land pressing down on her. Clara remembered her father. He was a kind man. He taught her to be strong and to help others. He often said that kindness was like water in a desert. It could bring life or hope. But now, in this drought, kindness felt hard to find. Clara often thought about his words. They echoed in her mind as she faced the harsh reality of her life. The well was dry. Clara had to walk farther each day to find water. She filled a small bucket with the last of her strength. Each step felt heavier than the last. The sun was relentless, pushing her to the edge of her limits. She thought about her father again. He had worked hard to keep the land. Now, it seemed that all his efforts were slipping away. Clara's hands were rough and calloused from the work. She wiped her brow and took a deep breath. She needed to hold on. She needed to keep the land for her father. But with every passing day, it became harder to see a way forward. She felt alone, like a tree without roots. As she walked, she spotted a small patch of green in the distance. It was the only sign of life in the barren landscape. Clara hurried toward it, hoping to find a hidden spring or something that could help her. The closer she got, the more her heart raced. She needed this. But as she reached the green patch, she found not water, but a ravine. It was steep and rocky. Clara looked down and gasped. There, at the bottom, lay a man. He was pale and still. She felt a jolt of fear. He was an Apache. Clara had heard stories about them. They were often painted as enemies. But something within her wanted to help. Clara hesitated. She remembered her father's words about kindness. She took a deep breath and decided to climb down the ravine. The man was hurt. She could see blood on his clothes. Clara's heart raced, but she knew she had to act. She could not turn away. When she reached him, she knelt beside him. His face was bruised, and his breathing was weak. Clara felt a rush of compassion. She reached into her bag and pulled out her last water bottle. She gently lifted his head and poured a little water into his mouth. He stirred but did not wake. Clara searched for her rations. She had only a small piece of bread left. She took it out and broke it into pieces. She offered it to him, hoping he could eat. As she cared for him, her fear began to fade. This man was suffering, just like her. They were both fighting for survival. Clara stayed by his side for hours. She watched him closely. Finally, he opened his eyes. They were dark and full of pain. He looked at her with confusion and fear. Clara spoke softly, trying to calm him. She told him her name and that she meant no harm. He seemed to understand. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice barely a sound. Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. They were strangers, but in that moment, they shared a bond. She was helping him, and he was grateful. Clara's heart swelled with a sense of purpose. She helped him sit up slowly. Clara realized he was strong despite his injuries. They exchanged brief stories. He said his name was Kai. Clara learned that he had been separated from his people. His journey had been dangerous and long. She felt a kinship with him. They were both fighting battles in their own ways. As the sun began to set, Clara knew she had to take him back to her home. She could not leave him here. With effort, she helped him to his feet. He leaned on her for support. Together, they climbed back up the ravine. Clara felt a mix of fear and determination. What would the town think? What would her neighbors say? They reached the top, and Clara looked back at the ravine. It felt like a turning point. She had crossed a line. She had chosen to help someone who was seen as an enemy. But she could not ignore her heart. She led Kai to her home, knowing it might change everything. Once inside, Clara made a bed for Kai on the floor. She gathered blankets and pillows. He looked at her with gratitude and exhaustion. Clara felt a warmth in her chest. She was not just saving him, she was also saving a piece of herself. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. Kindness was a choice, and she had made it. Clara prepared more water and food. She felt a new energy. Helping Kai gave her hope. They shared a quiet meal, eating in silence. Clara watched him closely. She saw the strength in his eyes, even as he struggled. A bond was forming between them, built on trust and survival. As night fell, Clara sat beside him, feeling the weight of the day. She knew the town would not understand. They would see only danger. But she had to trust her instincts. She had chosen kindness, even in a world filled with fear. Together, they sat in the dim light, both aware that they were now connected by their choices. Clara understood that this was just the beginning. She had opened her heart to someone she was told to fear. And in doing so, she felt a spark of hope for the future. The road ahead would be hard, but she was ready to face it. Together, Clara and Kai would navigate the challenges ahead, driven by a shared strength and a newfound bond. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of birds singing outside. The sun peeked through her window, casting soft light across the room. She stretched and took a deep breath. The events of the day before flooded back to her. Kai was still there. He had survived the night. Clara quickly got out of bed. She felt a mix of excitement and worry. She tiptoed to the other room, where Kai lay on the floor. He was still asleep, his face relaxed but pale. Clara knelt beside him, checking his breathing. She felt relieved to see him alive. After a few moments, Kai stirred. He opened his eyes and looked at Clara. She smiled at him. "Good morning," she said softly. He smiled back, though it was weak. Clara felt a warmth in her heart. They were still in this together. Clara stood and began to prepare breakfast. She searched her small kitchen, looking for anything she could offer. She found some cornmeal and water. It was not much, but it would have to do. She mixed the cornmeal with water and cooked it over the fire. The smell filled the room, and Clara hoped it would bring Kai some comfort. As she worked, she heard him move behind her. Clara turned to see him sitting up, wincing slightly. "I am sorry," he said, his voice still weak. "You have done too much for me." Clara shook her head. "No, you need help," she replied. "We will get you strong again." She served him a small bowl of the cornmeal. Kai took it with trembling hands and began to eat. Clara watched, feeling a sense of purpose. This man was alive because she chose to help him. After breakfast, Clara wanted to assess his injuries. She approached him with care. "Can I see your wounds?" she asked gently. Kai hesitated but nodded. Clara knelt beside him and unwrapped the cloth around his arm. The cut was deep, but it looked clean. She felt a surge of determination. She would help him heal. Clara gathered her supplies. She cleaned the wound as best as she could. Kai winced, but did not complain. She worked carefully, wrapping the cut with fresh cloth. "You are strong," she said softly. "You will heal." As she finished, she looked into his eyes. They were dark and full of stories. Clara felt drawn to him, wanting to know more. "What happened to you?" she asked. Kai hesitated, his expression turning serious. "I was separated from my people," he replied slowly. "They were attacked. I tried to help them, but I could not. I am alone." His voice broke slightly, and Clara felt a pang of sadness. She understood loneliness all too well. "I lost my father," Clara admitted. "He taught me to be brave and kind. It's hard to be alone." Kai nodded, sharing a moment of understanding. They both had felt loss and pain. A silence settled between them, but it was not uncomfortable. Clara knew they were beginning to trust each other. She felt a bond growing, one that went beyond words. After a while, Clara suggested they go outside. The fresh air would do them both good. Kai agreed, and Clara helped him to his feet. He leaned on her for support, but his steps were steadier than the day before. They made their way to the porch where the sun warmed their faces. As they sat together, Clara pointed to the fields. "They used to be full of crops," she explained. "Now, I am afraid I will lose everything." Kai looked at the land, and Clara saw a flicker of understanding in his eyes. "Your land is strong," he said quietly. "It will heal if you care for it." Clara felt a rush of hope. Maybe he was right. Maybe there was still a chance for her and the land. "Will you help me?" she asked suddenly. "I need to learn how to care for it. I cannot do it alone." Kai met her gaze, and a small smile broke through his pain. "Yes, I will help," he replied. With renewed purpose, Clara stood and began to make plans. They would need to find water. They would need to mend fences. Together, they could bring life back to the ranch. Clara felt excitement bubbling inside her. As the day wore on, Clara and Kai worked side by side. They gathered tools and made their way to the fields. Clara showed him the broken fence. Kai examined it closely. "We can fix this," he said confidently. Clara felt inspired by his strength. She admired how he moved with purpose. Together, they gathered wood and began to mend what was broken. With each nail they hammered, Clara felt a sense of hope growing. They were not just fixing the fence, they were building something new. As they worked, they shared more stories. Clara learned about Kai's life on the reservation. He spoke of the beauty of his culture, the stories passed down through generations. Clara felt a deep respect for him. She wanted to learn more. In return, Clara told him about her father and the lessons he had taught her. Kai listened with care. He could see the strength in her spirit. They were both fighting their own battles, yet here they were, fighting together. As the sun began to set, they finished repairing the fence. Clara stood back and admired their work. It was a small victory, but it felt powerful. "We did it," she said, smiling at Kai. He nodded, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. "Tomorrow, we will find water," he said. Clara agreed. They had much to do, and together, they could face anything. As night fell, Clara felt a sense of peace. She had chosen to help Kai, and in doing so, she had found a partner. They were both lost, but now had a shared purpose. Clara lay down that night, feeling hopeful for the first time in a long while. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was ready to face them with Kai by her side. The next morning, Clara woke with determination. The sun was just rising, casting a warm glow in her small home. She quickly got ready, eager to start the day. Today, they would look for water. Clara felt a sense of hope and purpose. She wanted to make sure Kai was strong again. After breakfast, Clara found Kai sitting outside. He looked better today. His color had returned, and his movements were more steady. Clara smiled at him. "Are you ready?" she asked. Kai nodded, a small smile on his face. They gathered their supplies and set out toward the hills. Clara felt nervous but excited. She had never ventured too far from home, but with Kai by her side, she felt braver. They walked together, exchanging stories about their lives. As they climbed higher, Clara learned more about Kai. He told her about his family and the traditions of his people. He spoke of the teachings he had received as a child. Clara listened closely, fascinated by his words. She could see the pride he held for his culture. "I wish I could learn more about your people," Clara said. "Your stories are beautiful." Kai looked at her, surprised. "You want to learn?" he asked. Clara nodded eagerly. "Yes, I want to understand." Kai smiled, and Clara felt warmth in her chest. They continued their journey, and soon they reached a small stream. The water sparkled in the sunlight. Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. They had found it. "This is perfect," she exclaimed. She knelt down and cupped her hands to drink. The cool water tasted refreshing. Kai joined her, drinking slowly. Clara watched him, feeling grateful for his presence. After they drank, they filled their containers with water. Clara felt energized. "We should take some back to the ranch," she said. Kai agreed, and they began to make their way back down the hill. As they walked, Clara felt a bond growing between them. They shared stories and laughter. Kai told her about the games children played in his village. Clara shared memories of her father teaching her how to plant seeds. They were two souls connecting through shared experiences. When they reached the ranch, Clara felt a sense of accomplishment. They had found water, and now they could care for the land. She looked at Kai, who was smiling back at her. "We did it," she said. Kai nodded, his eyes shining. They spent the afternoon watering the plants and animals. Clara felt renewed energy as she worked alongside Kai. They moved in sync, both focused on the task at hand. With each passing moment, Clara felt more at ease with him. Their connection deepened. As the sun began to set, Clara paused to catch her breath. She looked at the ranch and saw how much they had accomplished together. "Thank you for your help," she said to Kai. He smiled back, his expression sincere. "Thank you for your kindness," he replied. Clara felt warmth wash over her. She realized that their relationship was becoming more than just a partnership. They were becoming friends, maybe even something more. That night, they sat outside under the stars. Clara felt the cool breeze on her skin as they shared stories. Kai spoke of the stars and their meanings in his culture. Clara listened intently, fascinated by the wisdom he shared. "Each star has a story," he explained. "They guide us and remind us of our ancestors." Clara looked up at the sky, feeling a connection to what Kai was saying. She realized that she had been searching for something to believe in, and perhaps this was it. "Do you have a favorite star?" Clara asked. Kai thought for a moment. "Yes, the morning star. It brings hope after a long night." Clara smiled at his answer. She felt a sense of hope growing within her too. As they talked, Clara noticed how comfortable they had become with each other. The fear she had felt at first was gone. It was replaced by a sense of trust and understanding. They were sharing their lives, their dreams, and their fears. "I want to help your people," Clara said suddenly. "I want to show the town that we can work together." Kai looked at her, surprised. "You would do that?" he asked. Clara nodded firmly. "Yes, I believe we can change things." Kai smiled, and Clara felt a rush of excitement. They could create a new future together. They could show the town that kindness and understanding were stronger than fear. As the night grew darker, Clara felt a sense of peace. She had found a friend in Kai, and together they were building something special. They were both healing in their own ways. The next day, Clara woke with a new sense of purpose. She wanted to take action. After breakfast, she turned to Kai. "We need to talk to the town," she said. "We need to tell them about our bond and the work we are doing." Kai nodded, his expression serious. "It will be difficult," he warned. Clara understood the risks. The town had always been wary of the Apache, but she felt ready to face it. "We need to try," she insisted. With determination, they made their way to the town. Clara felt her heart race as they approached the center. She could see familiar faces, some of whom had looked at her with suspicion before. But today was different. Today, she had Kai beside her. When they reached the center, Clara took a deep breath. "Everyone, I have something to say," she called out. The townsfolk turned to look at her, curious. Kai stood beside her, strong and confident. "We have been taught to fear each other," Clara began. "But this man, Kai, has shown me that we can help one another. Together, we can build a stronger community." She looked around, searching for understanding in their faces. Kai stepped forward. "We are not enemies," he said firmly. "We both face struggles. Together, we can find solutions." Clara felt a surge of strength as she listened to him. His words rang with truth. As they spoke, Clara could see some townsfolk beginning to listen. She felt a spark of hope. Maybe they could change perceptions. Maybe they could find common ground. Clara and Kai shared their stories, how they had come together to help the land. With each word, Clara felt the bond between them growing stronger. They were forging a new path, one built on trust and cooperation. As they finished speaking, Clara looked across the crowd. Some faces remained skeptical, but others seemed to soften. She felt a wave of hope wash over her. Change was possible. With Kai by her side, Clara knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. They were not just two individuals, they were allies. They were a team, and together, they would build a better future. The days following Clara and Kai's speech were tense. The town was divided. While some people began to see the value in their partnership, others remained hostile. Clara felt a knot of worry in her stomach. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. One evening, as Clara and Kai worked on the ranch, they heard voices approaching. Clara looked up to see a group of men walking toward them. She recognized Thomas, the bitter rancher who had always been against the Apache. He was flanked by several of his friends. Clara felt her heart race. "Clara," Thomas shouted as he approached. "What are you doing with that man?" His tone was harsh, and Clara felt a chill run down her spine. She stood tall, trying to show strength. "We are working together," Clara replied firmly. "We are building a future." Thomas laughed harshly. "A future? With an Apache? You are making a mistake, Clara." Clara felt anger rising within her. "No, I am making a choice. I choose to help him, and I choose to help my land." Thomas stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "You are a fool. You think he will help you." Kai stood beside Clara, his presence strong and steady. "I am here to help," he said calmly. "Together, we can make this land thrive again." The men exchanged glances, but Thomas scoffed. "You don't belong here. You're not one of us." Clara felt a surge of determination. "Neither is fear," she said. "We can choose to understand each other instead." Thomas stepped forward, his expression darkening. "This is not over. You will regret this." With that, Thomas turned and stormed away, his friends following closely behind. Clara felt shaken but defiant. Kai placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You stood strong," he said. "That is important." Clara nodded, though she felt the weight of the encounter. Later that night, Clara and Kai sat on the porch under the stars. Clara felt the cool breeze on her skin. She looked at Kai, who appeared deep in thought. "What will happen now?" she asked quietly. "It will take time," Kai replied. "Change does not come easily." Clara sighed, knowing he was right. "I wish people could see what I see," she said. "I wish they could see the good in you." Kai looked at her, his expression softening. "They will see in their own time. For now, we keep working." Clara felt comforted by his words. She knew they had to stay focused on their goals. The next morning, Clara woke early. She felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wanted to show the town the real Kai. They headed into town together, determined to share their progress. Clara believed that actions could speak louder than words. As they walked, Clara could see the familiar faces of townsfolk. Some greeted her with nods, while others looked away. Clara felt a mix of emotions. She was proud of their work, but anxious about how they would respond. When they reached the center of town, Clara set up a small display of their achievements. She showcased the crops they had nurtured, the water they had collected, and the fences they had repaired. She wanted to show the townsfolk that their efforts were making a difference. Kai helped her set everything up. This is good, he said, looking at their work. Clara smiled at him, feeling a sense of teamwork. We have accomplished so much together, she said. As people began to gather, Clara felt her heart race. She stood in front of the display, preparing to speak. Everyone, she called out. I want to share what we have done. She gestured to the crops and fences. These are the results of our hard work. Some townsfolk looked interested, while others remained skeptical. Clara took a deep breath and continued. Kai has taught me so much. Together, we are finding ways to bring life back to this land. She looked at Kai, who stood proudly beside her. One of the townsfolk, a woman named Mary, stepped forward. But why trust him? She asked. He is an Apache. Clara felt a surge of frustration. He is a person, just like us. We all have our struggles. Kai spoke up, his voice steady. I want to help this land. I want to show that kindness can overcome fear. Clara felt a wave of support from the crowd. Some people nodded, beginning to see the truth in his words. Just then, Thomas arrived with a few others. Clara felt her stomach drop. He pushed through the crowd, his expression fierce. What is this nonsense? He shouted. You expect us to trust him? Clara stepped forward, refusing to back down. We are not enemies, Thomas. We can work together for a better future. The townsfolk murmured, and Clara could see some beginning to rethink their views. Thomas shook his head, anger flaring in his eyes. This is wrong. You're betraying your people, Clara. Clara felt hurt by his words, but she stood her ground. No, I am choosing to fight for hope and understanding. The tension in the air grew thick. Clara looked around and saw mixed expressions from the crowd. Some were still wary, but a few were beginning to see the potential in Clara and Kai's partnership. Clara felt a spark of hope. Let us show you, Clara said, her voice strong. We invite you to come to the ranch. See for yourselves what we have accomplished. She watched as the crowd shifted, some looking intrigued. Kai added, we can work together. There is strength in unity. Clara could see some people nodding, their expressions softening. Thomas, however, remained unconvinced. You will regret this, he warned. You are making a mistake. With that, he turned and stormed away, but a few townsfolk remained, curious about Clara's invitation. As the crowd began to disperse, Clara felt a mix of relief and excitement. They had made progress, even if it was just a small step. Clara looked at Kai, who smiled back at her. You did well, he said. Thank you, Clara replied, feeling proud of their efforts. We will keep working. We will show them that kindness and understanding can lead to something good. Kai nodded. Yes. We will keep pushing forward. Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were on a journey, and together they would find a way to bridge the gap between their worlds. As they walked back to the ranch, Clara felt hope growing within her. They were not just fighting for the land, they were fighting for a better future for everyone. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next few days passed in a flurry of activity. Clara and Kai worked tirelessly on the ranch, preparing for the townsfolk's visit. Clara felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She wanted to show everyone the progress they had made and the strength of their partnership. As they tended to the crops, Clara and Kai planned their presentation. We will show them how the land can thrive, Clara said, her eyes shining. We can demonstrate the techniques you taught me. Kai nodded, his expression serious. And we will show them the value of working together. Clara felt a sense of unity growing between them. Each day, they shared more stories and learned from one another. Clara admired Kai's knowledge of the land, while he appreciated her determination and spirit. Their bond deepened as they faced challenges together. On the day of the town's visit, Clara woke early. She felt nervous energy coursing through her. She prepared a simple meal, knowing they would need fuel for the day ahead. Kai joined her in the kitchen, helping to set up. You are ready, he said with a reassuring smile. Clara smiled back, feeling his confidence lift her spirits. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Clara looked out at the ranch. She could see the fields glistening with dew. She hoped the townsfolk would see the beauty in their hard work. Together, they had watered the crops and tended to the animals. Clara felt proud of what they had accomplished. When the townsfolk arrived, Clara's heart raced. She stood at the entrance, welcoming them with Kai by her side. The group was mixed, with some familiar faces and others she had not seen before. Clara took a deep breath. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice steady. We want to show you what we have done here. She gestured for them to follow. As they walked through the ranch, Clara pointed out the crops. These are thriving because we work together, she explained. Kai taught me how to care for them. She noticed some people nodding, their expressions softening. Kai stepped forward. This land can heal. It just needs time and care, he said. His voice was calm and strong. Clara watched as the townsfolk listened closely. She felt a sense of hope growing within her. They moved onto the livestock. Clara and Kai explained how they had nurtured the animals and created a more sustainable environment. Clara could see curiosity in the eyes of the townsfolk. They were beginning to see the value in their work. As they continued the tour, Clara noticed Thomas standing at the back, arms crossed. He appeared skeptical, as usual. But Clara refused to let his negativity dampen her spirit. She focused on the others, who seemed more engaged. Finally, they reached the water source they had discovered together. Clara gestured to the small stream. "This is what we found," she said. "It provides life for our crops and animals." Clara felt a surge of pride. "We can all work together to protect it." One of the townsfolk, a farmer named Ben, stepped forward. "How can we help?" he asked, his tone genuine. Clara felt a wave of relief. "We can share our knowledge," she replied. "Together, we can create a better future." Kai nodded in agreement. "If we unite, we can overcome the challenges we all face," he said. The atmosphere began to shift, and Clara could feel a sense of connection forming among the group. As they moved back toward the main area of the ranch, Clara decided it was time to address Thomas. She turned to him, her heart racing. "Thomas," she said, her voice firm but calm, "we are not enemies. We can work together for the benefit of everyone." Thomas stepped forward, his expression skeptical. "And what makes you think we can trust him?" he challenged, pointing at Kai. Clara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Because we have already seen the results of our partnership," she replied. "We have made progress because we chose to work together. We can help each other, not just as individuals, but as a community." Some townsfolk began to murmur in agreement. Clara felt hope rising within her. "We need to let go of our fear," she continued. "If we stand divided, we will all suffer. But if we unite, we can thrive." Kai stepped forward, his voice steady. "I want to help. I want to be part of this community. My people have suffered, but together we can find common ground." Clara could see some faces softening. She felt a sense of urgency. "Let's come together. Let's create a plan to work side by side. We can learn from one another." Thomas remained silent, but Clara noticed a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. She hoped he was beginning to reconsider his stance. After the tour, Clara gathered the townsfolk for a discussion. They sat in a circle, and Clara encouraged everyone to share their thoughts. There were mixed opinions, but Clara felt encouraged by the willingness to listen. Ben spoke up again. "I see the potential in what you both are doing. I think we should support this." Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. Another woman, Sarah, added, "We need to work together. There is strength in unity." Clara felt her heart swell with hope. As the discussion continued, Clara noticed Thomas still standing apart from the group. He looked more uncertain now, and Clara seized the opportunity. "Thomas, you have a voice too. What do you think?" He hesitated, glancing around at the others. Clara could see the conflict in his expression. "I still think it's dangerous," he said finally, but his tone was less harsh. "But if you believe in this, I will listen." Clara felt a rush of gratitude. "Thank you, Thomas. That means a lot." She hoped this was a step in the right direction. As the sun began to set, the townsfolk started to leave. Clara felt a sense of accomplishment. They had made progress, even if it was small. Kai stood beside her, a proud smile on his face. "You did well," he said. Clara smiled back, feeling grateful for his support. "We did this together," she replied. "We are building something important." As night fell, Clara sat outside, looking up at the stars. She felt a sense of peace. They had faced challenges, but they were moving forward. Together, Clara and Kai were creating a new path, one built on kindness and understanding. With Kai by her side, Clara felt ready to face whatever came next. They were building a future, one step at a time. And together, they would continue to bridge the gap between their worlds. The days after the town's visit passed quickly. Clara and Kai continued to work hard on the ranch. Clara felt a shift in the air. The townsfolk were more open now. Some even came by to help. The bond between Clara and Kai was growing stronger as they faced challenges together. One afternoon, while they were fixing a fence, Clara noticed a group of men approaching the ranch. She recognized Thomas leading them. Her heart sank. She had hoped for a break from conflict. Kai stood beside her, his expression calm but alert. As they got closer, Thomas called out, "Clara, we need to talk." Clara felt a knot in her stomach. She nodded and approached him. "What is it, Thomas?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Thomas glanced at Kai, his expression wary. "I don't trust him," he said. "You need to get rid of him before it's too late." Clara felt anger rise within her. "He is not the enemy, Thomas. We are working together. You need to see that. Thomas shook his head. You don't understand. People are talking. They think you are making a mistake. Clara felt frustrated. I am not making a mistake. We are trying to create something good here. One of the other men in Thomas's group spoke up. Maybe we should give him a chance, he said. Clara felt a wave of relief. Yes. We can show you what we've accomplished together. Thomas crossed his arms. And what if it fails? What if he brings danger to our town? Clara took a deep breath. We can work together to ensure that doesn't happen. Trust is built over time. Kai stepped forward, his voice steady. I want to prove that I can help this community. I want to contribute, not take away. Clara could see a flicker of uncertainty in Thomas's eyes. She hoped it meant he was beginning to reconsider. Let's have a meeting, Clara suggested. We can discuss our plans and address any concerns. That way, everyone can be heard. Thomas hesitated, but eventually nodded. Fine. We will meet tomorrow. As the men turned to leave, Clara felt a mix of hope and fear. She knew the meeting would be important. It could be a turning point for their community. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She lay awake, her mind racing with thoughts about the meeting. She wanted to convey their message clearly and show the townsfolk the value of their partnership. Kai noticed her restlessness and sat beside her. Are you worried? He asked gently. Clara sighed. Yes. I want everyone to understand what we are trying to do. Kai placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. You are doing well, Clara. Just be honest and speak from your heart. Clara nodded, feeling grateful for his support. Thank you, Kai. I couldn't do this without you. They shared a quiet moment under the stars, feeling a sense of connection. Together, they were building a new future. The next day, Clara and Kai prepared for the meeting. They set up a space at the ranch where everyone could gather comfortably. Clara felt nervous but determined. She knew this was their chance to make a difference. As the townsfolk arrived, Clara greeted them warmly. She noticed Thomas standing at the back, arms crossed. Clara felt a knot in her stomach, but she pushed through. She wanted to show that they were united. Thank you all for coming, Clara began. We wanted to create a space for open dialogue. We want to share our progress and hear your thoughts. She looked around the room, hoping for understanding. Kai stood beside her. We have been working hard, he said. Together, we have made improvements on the ranch. We want to show you the potential for our community. One of the men raised his hand. What if we face challenges? What if it doesn't work out? Clara felt a surge of determination. Every journey has challenges, but we can face them together. We must support one another. Thomas finally spoke up. I still worry about the risks. Our town has been through a lot. Clara felt her heart race. I understand your concerns, but we can create a better future by working together. Another woman spoke. Can you show us what you've accomplished? Clara smiled, feeling hopeful. Absolutely. We can show you how we have cared for the land and animals. We want to share our knowledge. As Clara began to describe their progress, she noticed the townsfolk leaning in, listening intently. She spoke about the crops that had thrived and the water source they had discovered. With each word, she felt more confident. Kai added, we can teach you the techniques that have worked for us. Together, we can create a sustainable future. Clara could see the interest growing in the crowd. Thomas remained silent, but Clara sensed a shift in the atmosphere. More people were beginning to see the value in their partnership. Clara felt a rush of hope. Maybe they could bridge the divide after all. After the presentation, Clara opened the floor for discussion. What are your thoughts? How can we work together? A woman named Sarah spoke up. I think we should try to find common ground. We all want the same thing, a thriving community. Another man chimed in. Let's set up a plan to work together. We can combine our strengths. Clara felt excitement building. Yes, together, we can achieve so much more. As the discussion continued, Clara felt a sense of unity forming. They began to outline ideas and plans for collaboration. Clara looked at Kai and saw pride in his eyes. They were making progress. Finally, Thomas spoke again. I still have my doubts, but I can see that you both care. I will give this a chance. Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. Thank you, Thomas. That means a lot. The meeting ended on a hopeful note. Clara felt a sense of accomplishment. They had taken a step toward building a better future. As the townsfolk began to leave, Clara and Kai stood together, feeling the weight of their journey. We did it, Clara said, smiling at Kai. We showed them that we can work together. Kai nodded, his expression warm. This is just the beginning. We have much to do. As night fell, Clara felt a sense of peace. They had faced challenges, but they were moving forward. Together, they were creating a new path, one built on kindness and collaboration. Clara knew that with Kai by her side, they could face any obstacle that lay ahead. The days that followed the meeting were filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Clara and Kai worked hard to put their plans into action. They spent long hours tending to the ranch, preparing for the collaboration with the townsfolk. Clara felt energized, but there was a lingering tension in the air. One evening, as Clara and Kai were finishing up their chores, they noticed dark clouds gathering on the horizon. Clara looked up, feeling a sense of foreboding. "Do you think it will rain?" she asked. Kai squinted at the sky. "It might. We should be prepared." Just then, Clara heard loud voices approaching. She turned to see Thomas and a few other men marching toward them. Clara felt her stomach drop. She could see the anger on Thomas's face. "Clara, we need to talk," Thomas shouted, his voice echoing in the stillness. Clara glanced at Kai, who remained calm. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. "What's wrong, Thomas? You think you can just change everything?" Thomas said, his tone harsh. "You think you can trust him?" Clara felt frustration rising within her. "We are working together for a better future," she replied firmly. Thomas shook his head. "You're making a mistake. You don't know what he is capable of." Clara felt her heart race. "Kai has helped me. He cares about this land, just like I do." The men behind Thomas looked uncertain. One of them, Ben, stepped forward. "But what if something goes wrong? What if he brings danger to our community?" Clara felt a mix of anger and fear. "We can't live in fear. We have to trust one another." Kai spoke up, his voice steady. "I want to help. I want to show that we can work together." Clara could see the tension in the air, but she hoped that their words would break through. Thomas stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "You don't understand the risks. You're putting everyone in danger." Clara felt the weight of his words. "We can face challenges together. We have to give this a chance." Just then, the wind picked up, and the first drops of rain began to fall. Clara looked up, feeling a sense of urgency. "We should go inside," she said. "We can talk more safely there." As they moved inside the barn, Clara felt the atmosphere shift. The sound of raindrops hitting the roof created a tense backdrop to the conversation. She looked around at the faces of the townsfolk, feeling a mix of determination and fear. Once inside, Clara took a deep breath. "Let's discuss our concerns," she suggested. "We need to find a way to work together." She glanced at Kai, who nodded in support. Thomas crossed his arms. "What if something happens to your ranch? What if you lose everything?" Clara felt a surge of frustration. "What if we don't try? What if we let fear control us?" Ben spoke again, looking thoughtful. "We need to find common ground. We all want the same thing, a thriving community." Clara felt encouraged by his words. "Yes, we can share our knowledge and skills." Kai added, "I can teach you what I know. We can work together to create solutions." Clara could see some faces beginning to soften, but Thomas remained skeptical. "You think we can just forget the past? You think we can trust him?" Clara stepped forward, feeling the weight of the moment. "We can't change the past, but we can choose our future. Together." Just then, the rain began to pour harder. The sound grew louder, drowning out their voices. Clara felt a sense of urgency. "We need to focus on what we can achieve," she urged. "If we work together, we can overcome any challenge." As the storm raged outside, Clara could see the townsfolk exchanging glances. The atmosphere was tense, but Clara sensed a shift. "Let's take this opportunity to collaborate," she said. "We can come together as a united community." Thomas hesitated, his expression conflicted. Clara could see that he was struggling with his emotions. "I still have my doubts," he said finally, "but I want to believe in this." Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Thomas. That means a lot." She hoped that they were making progress. As the rain continued to pour, Clara suggested they take a break and gather their thoughts. They sat in a circle, sharing their ideas and concerns. Clara felt a sense of unity forming as they began to communicate openly. "I know this is a difficult transition," Clara said, "but we can create a plan to work together. We can support each other." Kai spoke again. "I want to show you that I can be a part of this community. I want to help us all thrive." Clara could see some townsfolk nodding, their expressions beginning to change. The storm raged outside, but inside the barn, the atmosphere began to shift. Clara felt a sense of hope growing among them. They were starting to let go of their fear and embrace the possibility of collaboration. As the rain began to lighten, Clara stood up. "Let's make a commitment to work together. Let's create a plan for how we can support one another." Thomas finally spoke again. "I will give this a chance. I will help where I can." Clara felt a rush of gratitude. Thank you, Thomas. Together, we can build something strong. The meeting began to wind down, and Clara felt a sense of accomplishment. They had faced challenges, but they were moving forward. As the rain began to fade, Clara looked at Kai, who smiled back at her. We did it, she said, feeling proud. We took a step toward unity. Kai nodded. Yes, together we can face whatever comes next. Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were building a future, and with each step, they were creating a stronger bond between their worlds. As they left the barn, the rain began to clear. Clara looked up at the sky, feeling a sense of peace. They had weathered the storm, and now they could embrace the promise of a brighter future. Together, they would continue to build bridges and create a community founded on trust, understanding, and hope. The days after the meeting were filled with a sense of purpose. The townsfolk began to come together, eager to collaborate with Clara and Kai. They worked side by side, learning from one another. Clara felt encouraged by the change in the community. One morning, Clara and Kai gathered with a group of townsfolk at the ranch. They had decided to start a community garden. Clara felt excited. This project could bring everyone together. As they began to prepare the land, Clara noticed how the townsfolk were more willing to listen to Kai. They asked him questions about planting and caring for crops. Clara smiled as she watched the transformation. Let's plant vegetables that everyone can use, Clara suggested. We can share the harvest. The group agreed, and they began to dig and plant seeds together. Throughout the day, Clara and Kai moved among the group, helping wherever they could. Kai demonstrated how to plant seeds properly, sharing his knowledge with the townsfolk. Clara admired his ability to connect with everyone. As they worked, Clara took a moment to chat with Ben. It's great to see everyone so involved, she said, planting seeds alongside him. Ben nodded, looking pleased. I think we are finally starting to come together. Clara felt a wave of hope. Yes, and it's because of the trust we are building. Ben smiled back. You and Kai have shown us a new way. Later in the day, as they took a break, Clara gathered everyone around. Let's talk about our goals, she said. What do we want to achieve with this garden? Thomas, who had been quiet, spoke up. We want to create a space that benefits everyone. We want to show that we can work together. Clara felt a surge of pride. Yes, this garden is for all of us. Kai added, we can also share our knowledge about sustainable farming. This can be a learning experience. Clara noticed the townsfolk nodding in agreement. They were starting to see the value in collaboration. As they continued planting, Clara felt a sense of joy. She looked at Kai, who was helping a child plant seeds. He had a natural way of connecting with people. Clara appreciated how he was becoming a part of the community. As the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone again. Let's celebrate our hard work. We should have a small gathering to enjoy the first harvest. The townsfolk cheered, excited about the idea. Over the next few weeks, the garden flourished. Clara and Kai worked diligently, teaching the townsfolk about caring for the plants. Clara felt a growing sense of purpose in her heart. They were creating something beautiful together. One evening, as they finished up, Clara and Kai sat on the porch, watching the sunset. I can't believe how far we've come, Clara said, feeling grateful. Kai nodded, a smile on his face. Yes, we have built something strong. Clara turned to him, her expression serious. But it's not just about the garden. It's about the connections we are making. Kai looked thoughtful. You are right. We are healing together. As the days passed, Clara learned more about Kai's past. He shared stories of his family and the struggles they faced. Clara listened with care, feeling a deep connection to his experiences. She shared her own memories of her father, the lessons he had taught her. One evening, as they prepared for the upcoming celebration, Clara found herself reflecting on their journey. I never thought I could find friendship in someone so different from me, she admitted. Kai looked at her, his eyes warm. We are not so different. We both want the same things, family, community, and a future. On the day of the celebration, the garden was full of vibrant colors. Clara and Kai worked alongside the townsfolk to set up tables and decorations. The atmosphere was filled with excitement and laughter. Clara felt a sense of belonging that she had longed for. As the guests arrived, Clara welcomed everyone with open arms. She could see the joy on their faces as they admired the garden. Thomas stepped forward, a smile on his face. You have all done a wonderful job, he said. This garden is a testament to our hard work. Clara felt a wave of pride. This is just the beginning, she replied. We can continue to grow and learn together. The townsfolk cheered, their spirits high. As the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone for a toast. To our community and the bonds we have formed, she said. May we continue to support one another. Glasses were raised, and everyone cheered in agreement. Kai stood beside Clara, his expression proud. We are stronger together, he added. Clara felt a rush of emotion. They had built something meaningful, a community rooted in trust and understanding. As the night wore on, Clara and Kai watched the townsfolk enjoy the fruits of their labor. Laughter and joy filled the air, and Clara felt her heart swell with happiness. She realized that they were creating a new future, one where everyone belonged. Later, as the stars twinkled above, Clara and Kai took a moment to step away from the crowd. Look at what we've done, Clara said, her voice filled with awe. Kai smiled, his eyes reflecting the starlight. It is beautiful. Clara felt a deep sense of gratitude. Thank you for being a part of this, she said sincerely. Kai nodded. Thank you for believing in me. They stood in silence for a moment, feeling the weight of their journey. Clara realized that they had both grown in ways they never expected. They had faced challenges and fears, but they had emerged stronger together. As the celebration continued, Clara felt a sense of peace washing over her. They had created a garden, but more importantly, they had nurtured relationships. Clara knew that their journey was far from over, but with Kai by her side, she felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Together, they were building a future filled with hope, unity, and love. And as they looked out over the garden, Clara knew they had planted the seeds for something truly special, a community that would thrive for years to come. As the weeks turned into months, the community garden flourished. Clara and Kai had worked tirelessly, and the results were clear. The townsfolk came together regularly, sharing not just the harvest but also laughter and stories. Clara felt grateful for the connections they had built. One sunny morning, Clara gathered everyone at the ranch for a meeting. They had made significant progress, but Clara wanted to take the next step. Thank you all for being here, she began, looking around at the smiling faces. Today, I want to talk about how we can grow this community even more. The townsfolk listened attentively. Clara felt a surge of excitement. We can create a community group. This way, we can continue to support each other and work on new projects together. There were murmurs of agreement. Clara could see the enthusiasm in their eyes. Kai stood beside her, nodding. We can organize events, share knowledge, and take care of this land together, he added. Clara felt proud of him. He had become a bridge between their worlds, and the townsfolk respected him. Thomas, who had been quiet, finally spoke up. I think it's a great idea. We need to keep this momentum going. Together, we can tackle any challenges that come our way. Clara smiled, feeling hopeful. As they discussed ideas for the community group, Clara noticed a young girl named Lily standing at the edge of the group. She looked shy but curious. Clara smiled at her and invited her closer. Would you like to help us with the garden, Lily? Lily's face lit up. Yes. I love flowers, she replied. Clara felt warmth in her heart. Then you can help us plant some new ones. We want to make the garden even more beautiful. The group began brainstorming ideas for community events. They discussed planting days, potlucks, and workshops where everyone could share their skills. Clara felt energized by the enthusiasm in the air. As the meeting came to a close, Clara turned to Kai. I think we're ready to take this step, she said. He nodded, looking pleased. Yes, we are building something strong. The following weekend, they held their first community potluck. Clara helped organize the event, and everyone brought food to share. The ranch was filled with laughter and the smell of delicious dishes. Clara felt a sense of joy as she welcomed everyone. As they set up, Clara noticed Thomas helping to arrange tables. She approached him, feeling grateful for his support. Thank you for being part of this, she said. Thomas smiled back. I see the difference it's making. We are all in this together. The potluck began, and Clara watched as people mingled and shared stories. There were families, friends, and even newcomers. Clara felt a sense of belonging that she had longed for. As the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone's attention. Thank you all for coming tonight, she said, her voice warm. This is just the beginning of our journey together. Let's continue to support one another and grow as a community. Kai stood beside her. Together, we can achieve great things, he added. Clara felt a rush of hope. They were not just building a garden, they were creating a family. After the potluck, Clara and Kai took a moment to reflect. They stood outside, watching the stars twinkle above. I can't believe how far we've come, Clara said, feeling a sense of pride. Kai nodded, his expression thoughtful. We have faced challenges, but we have built trust. That is important. Clara felt grateful for his presence. Together, they had created a new path for their community. As the weeks passed, the community group met regularly. They planned more events, shared knowledge, and worked on the garden together. Clara felt a sense of unity growing stronger with each gathering. One day, Clara decided to organize a workshop on sustainable farming. She wanted to teach the townsfolk about eco-friendly practices. Kai was excited to help. "We can show them how to care for the land," he said. The workshop day arrived, and the ranch was bustling with activity. Clara felt nervous but excited. She welcomed everyone and began to explain the importance of sustainable practices. Kai demonstrated techniques, and the townsfolk watched closely. As they worked together, Clara noticed Lily helping a group of children learn how to plant seeds. Clara smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment. They were passing on knowledge to the next generation. After the workshop, Clara gathered everyone for a discussion. "What did you think? How can we improve?" she asked. The townsfolk shared their thoughts, and Clara felt encouraged by their feedback. Thomas raised his hand. "I think we should have more workshops like this. It's good for everyone." Clara felt a rush of gratitude. "Absolutely. We will keep learning together." As the community continued to grow, Clara and Kai faced new challenges. They began to attract attention from other towns. Some were curious about their collaboration, while others were still skeptical. One day, Clara noticed a group of strangers watching from a distance. They were talking among themselves, and Clara felt a knot in her stomach. "Who are they?" she asked Kai, glancing over her shoulder. "I don't know," Kai replied, his expression serious. "But we should be prepared for anything." Clara nodded, feeling a mix of anxiety and determination. They had worked too hard to let fear take over. The next day, Clara decided to invite the strangers to the ranch. She wanted to show them the beauty of what they were building. "We can show them what we've accomplished," she said to Kai. He agreed. "It's important to be open." As they approached the group, Clara felt her heart race. "Hello, I'm Clara, and this is Kai," she said, smiling warmly. "We'd like to invite you to see our community garden." The strangers looked surprised but intrigued. One of them stepped forward. "We've heard about the work you're doing. We wanted to see it for ourselves." Clara felt a surge of hope. "Please, follow us." As they walked through the garden, Clara explained their vision. She shared stories of the community's progress and the bonds they had formed. Clara could see the strangers' expressions changing. They were beginning to understand. When they reached the center of the garden, Clara turned to them. "This is more than just a garden. It's about building trust and unity." The strangers exchanged glances, and Clara felt a sense of anticipation. As the sun began to set, Clara smiled, feeling proud of what they had built. "Together, we can create a future where everyone belongs." The strangers nodded, and Clara felt a rush of hope. They were spreading their message of unity, one heart at a time. The weeks turned into months, and the community garden continued to thrive. Clara watched as the bonds between the townsfolk deepened. They had transformed not just the land but also their relationships. Clara felt a sense of pride in what they had built together. One afternoon, as Clara and Kai tended to the plants, they discussed their next steps. "We should think about expanding our garden," Clara suggested. "We could grow more vegetables and fruits to share with the community." Kai nodded, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "That would be wonderful. It would allow us to reach more families." With renewed purpose, they gathered the community for another meeting. Clara stood in front of everyone, her heart racing. "Thank you all for joining us today," she began. "We have made great progress, but I believe we can do even more." The townsfolk listened eagerly. "I want to propose expanding our garden," Clara continued. "We can grow more food to share with those in need." Excited murmurs filled the room. Clara felt a wave of hope wash over her. Kai spoke next. "We can also start a food distribution program. This way, we can help those who may not have enough to eat." Clara could see the interest growing among the crowd. People nodded in agreement, their faces lighting up with anticipation. "I think it's a great idea," Thomas said, stepping forward. Clara felt grateful for his support. "We can work together to make this happen." The townsfolk began to discuss logistics, sharing ideas and brainstorming solutions. As the meeting progressed, Clara felt a sense of unity in the room. They were all working toward the same goal. "Let's create a plan," Clara announced. "We can assign roles and establish a timeline for our expansion." Lily, the young girl who had been so eager to help, raised her hand. "Can I help with the planting?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. Clara smiled at her enthusiasm. "Of course, Lily. You will be a big part of this." Over the next few weeks, everyone worked together to expand the garden. Clara felt a sense of joy as she watched the townsfolk dig, plant, and nurture the land. They were not just growing crops, they were growing their community. As the days passed, Clara and Kai made sure to include everyone in the process. They held workshops on planting techniques and sustainable farming practices. They shared knowledge and skills, empowering each other. One day, while working in the garden, Clara noticed a group of newcomers approaching. They looked curious but hesitant. Clara felt a mix of excitement and nerves. "Let's invite them in," she said to Kai. "They might want to learn what we're doing." As the newcomers approached, Clara greeted them warmly. "Hello, I'm Clara, and this is Kai. We're building a community garden to support our town. Would you like to join us?" The newcomers looked surprised but intrigued. One of them, a woman named Maria, stepped forward. "We've heard about your work. We want to know more." Clara felt a rush of hope. "We would love to share our journey with you. Please, come help us." As the newcomers joined the group, Clara felt the community expanding. They brought new ideas and energy. Clara watched as friendships began to form, bridging the gap between different backgrounds. With the expansion of the garden underway, Clara and Kai also focused on their food distribution program. They organized a plan to share fresh produce with families in need. Clara felt a sense of purpose as they discussed how to reach those who might be struggling. One evening, as Clara and Kai met to finalize their plans, Clara turned to him. "I can't believe how far we've come," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Kai nodded, a smile on his face. "We have built something beautiful together." As they prepared to launch the food distribution program, Clara invited the townsfolk to help. "Let's gather together and make this happen," she said. "We can create a schedule for picking and distributing the food." The townsfolk rallied around her, eager to contribute. The day of the first distribution arrived, and Clara felt a mix of excitement and nerves. She stood at the front of the garden, looking at the rows of fresh produce. The townsfolk arrived, ready to help. Clara could see the determination and kindness in their eyes. As families arrived to collect their food, Clara felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They were not just sharing food, they were sharing hope. She watched as children laughed and families connected. It was more than she had ever dreamed. Kai stood beside Clara, his expression proud. "We are making a difference," he said quietly. Clara nodded, her heart swelling with joy. "Yes, we are." After the distribution, Clara gathered everyone to reflect on the day. "Thank you all for your hard work," she said. "What we have accomplished today is incredible. We are showing that our community can come together to support one another." Thomas spoke up. "This is just the beginning. We can continue to grow and help more people." Clara felt a surge of hope. They were building a foundation of trust and support. As the sun began to set, Clara looked out over the garden, feeling a sense of peace. The community had come together in ways she had never imagined. They were united, and they were thriving. Later that night, Clara and Kai sat on the porch, watching the stars appear. "We did it," Clara said, her voice filled with gratitude. "We created something special." Kai smiled back. "And we will keep growing. Together, we can face whatever challenges come our way." Clara felt a sense of determination. They had built a community founded on kindness, trust, and hope. As they gazed at the stars, Clara knew that their journey was far from over. They had planted the seeds for a brighter future, and together, they would continue to nurture their community, creating a place where everyone belonged.